Streaming now.
Nelson Mandela.
Almost. Hold on. Here we go. Here we go. Let's get it started. One of these. Let me find this other page, and then there's just. Where is it? Just me. How do you get the news? This just me? Is this me? There we go. Well, it's sort of me. Hold on one second. Is this it? No, that's not the wrong one. But it should be. By golly. Hold on one second. I should be in here somewhere, I would think. Let's see. Me. I think so. There we go. Well, it's essentially me. All right. I don't know why it's off. What is happening? What's the why is all these? Oh, how come? We'll make it this camera. That should help. And then we'll try this background. Then we'll just zoom in, and then we'll rotate and move over. And it's a little caramely. I apologize. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm sorry. I just rolled in hot off the road. Why am I down here in the corner? That's the other thing too. Drag this down. There we go. Oh, look at me. And then try to go up here to this guy. Is this? Yeah. Well, this will work. There we go. I don't know why everything's off kilter. Let's just assume. There we go. Hi. There we go. That'll work for now, I think. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'm in Los Angeles. I drove in hot off the presses, hot off the road, rolling in hot, rode hard, put away wet. Name your poison. Speaking of poison, I have 2 shows this week, and let's just jump straight in to the poison that we're dealing with. Yeah, there he is. Hey, it's the only Pierce in the world that takes the Bond out of Pierce Brosnan's name. Different spelling, but sort of flattens the tires a little bit. By the way, I grew up my first Bond when I was a kid was Roger Moore, and I enjoyed him quite thoroughly. I'm a big fan of Roger Moore, and then Timothy Dalton. Loved him in Flash Gordon, especially in the big test where they stick their arm in the big stump and the gooey thing it was very scary. I was very scared. I was 11 or something. Anyways, but as Bond, I don't think he got a shot. Enjoyed Pierce Brosnan a lot. In many ways, the last Bond in a while, where I enjoyed the most recent movies, especially Quantum of Solace was my favorite. But there was a tremendous lack of bondage in those. What? Bond-like behavior is what I meant to say. I enjoyed Sean Connery, but he was before my time. And when it came to, Pierce Brosnan, there was some of the action, there was some of the gadgets, there was, the new ones with Daniel Craig were lovely films, but much more. I called them the Bond Identity. They were much more like Bourne Identity style movies. That's my feeling. The gentleman spy part is an essence of the 007 character. I'm just saying. So I enjoyed Pierce Brosnan doing it. Now, there's got to be a bell curve when it comes to Pierces in the world. There's Pierce Brosnan at the apex, and then there's these guys. There's dozens of these guys at the bottom, right? Yes, Peter Sellers was, as the first Bond in Casino Royale, was again earlier than my time. Just saying. Let's just agree to enjoy what we like. We don't even have to agree to disagree. That's the beautiful thing. Meanwhile, we've been hearing about it. I don't know how long the dang thing is, but here's Piers Morgan. The World's Gone Nuts is the title of this one. And apparently he went right to the source. Why is the world insane? And also, what the hell is that? The World's Gone Nuts? That's the title of this thing? What kind of lazy bullshit freak out nonsense is this, honestly? Let me shrink this down a touch. There you go. So you get all the pithy nuances. I'm sure we'll get Trump leaning into his... what was that thing? Let's see. Edit. There was something that makes the things go away so I can hide the things. So anyways, okay, here we go. Very exciting. Let's see. I've been wanting to see what he does. We've only seen a couple of sweaty tidbits. Let's see.
Marched around, spears out, baying for the blood of anyone remotely different to themselves. And I've reached a very
I feel seen. I'm just saying.
Unfortunate conclusion. The world's gone nuts.
Okay.
I mean, it has, right? With statues of Churchill, Mandela.
No. No, it hasn't gone nuts. It's always been slightly nuts. Where is this nonsense? Oh, here we go. Next. President Trump uncensored, much to his chagrin, I suppose. There we go.
Trump's a supreme narcissist. His pathetic antics have been utterly contemptible. He's now acting like a mafia mob boss. President Trump needs to be removed from office. Now, to be clear, I meant what I said at the time, and I stand by it all now. But understandably, Trump was angry, furious.
Yeah, you think?
He cursed me as he read those quotes out and repeatedly threatened to cancel the interview. It was a bit like being back in the old Apprentice boardroom, moments away from possibly being fired.
Yeah, except the part where he shit his pants all the time. Unless he did. I don't know. I can't wait to find out.
He shouted at me. I thought we were friends. This is so disloyal.
Yeah, but he doesn't have any friends.
Why would you say all this about me? So I told him. I'm just being brutally honest. Dishonest, he snapped, as he was to do again later.
Yeah, he just attacks that on, and he thinks that gets him somewhere. It's really silly.
It was tense. It was touch and go. But he finally did agree to do the interview, and he didn't hold back. But then neither did I. He'd agreed to 20 minutes.
Well, apparently you did, because you did a 20-minute. You agreed to a 20-minute interview, and obviously you've cut it down to that amount because this whole show is 45 minutes.
We ended up going toe-to-toe for more than 70. And from the moment we sat down, I knew this would be the most explosive Trump interview I'd ever done. President Trump, well, first of all, how are you?
Very good. We're doing well, and it's nice to be in Florida. We're sort of all over the place, but a lot of time spent in Florida.
What is...
At least he knows where he is. In theory, does he seem... I don't know. I don't think he's convinced he's in Florida.
Like as an ex-president?
Have you know, I'm only in charge of the good parts. I'm still president.
Well, it's interesting. It's beautiful. It's complex sometimes.
Unlike my life before being president, which was very simple. Very simple. So simple, even Eric could understand it.
We have a lot of endorsements going out and have gone...
Nike, golf type shit.
We've done very well on endorsing candidates that I think are very good, and they are very good, and we've taken people from who were not going to win, and now they're winning big.
You're talking like somebody who feels he has unfinished business.
Well, we did a really good job. We created an economy that was incredible, and now...
No, he didn't.
Supply chain problems, inflation problems, gasoline selling for $5, $6, $7. Think of it, a gallon.
Yeah, I don't even remember. Does anybody remember something happened in the last year of his presidency that gummed up the works? I don't even remember. It was Cobarb, my coronavirus? I forget.
When I left, it was under $2, and
when no one was going anywhere.
Largely under $2 for a long period of time. 187, 167.
Yeah, it's amazing how effective not having a strategy to vaccinate the country was on tourism.
At one point, and now it's $5, $6, $7, $8, depending on...
Yeah, it's almost like it's a commodity. People need to go places, and they're going places again, in mass.
You are going up much higher. And we have a war that would have never happened if I was president. That war would have never happened.
When the invasion started, you were quite praiseworthy of Vladimir Putin. You said he was a genius. This was a savvy move. That he was going in as a peacemaker.
No, that's the fake news' version. No.
Tell me the truth.
When he built up soldiers on the border, I said, that's a very smart, brilliant move, because I thought he was negotiating.
Yeah, it's a brilliant move when you think it's a move. When you think everything's moves. When you're like, I don't know, what was the phrase he used once? I moved on her like a bitch. I took her furniture shopping. That when you think in those terms, then putting troops on a border don't mean shit. It doesn't mean shit to you because you don't think of it as an actual thing.
He went in, I said, no longer a brilliant move.
Oh, after that. When he actually did what he was planning to do, I thought, oh, this isn't a tactic.
You see the scenes, Mr. President, of maternity hospitals being
I think it's
bombed.
terrible, yeah.
When you see refugees being attacked as they flee, grandmothers, children, babies. You see the decimation of previously prosperous cities living in a thriving new democracy. When you watch what's happening, I mean, do you agree with my assessment that Vladimir Putin is now an
Also, what the fuck is with the fish breathing?
evil genocidal monster?
Yeah, but I also,
You do?
when I look at, I do, sure. And who wouldn't? What's
Yeah, I mean, in general, you look at it and you're like, ew. But, you know, don't get excited. It's just the standard kind of disgust.
happening is horrible. When you see rockets going into apartment buildings, and there are plenty of people in those buildings, you know, they think they're like the people who moved out. They didn't move. They want to stay because they think they're safe in their apartments.
I mean, is there a more childish view of the world? When you see rockets going into an apartment building and people want to stay in their apartments because they think they're safe in that. What the fuck was that again? They thought they were safe in their
People are dead.
apartments.
And who wouldn't? What's happening is horrible.
Ugh.
When you see rockets going into apartment buildings, and there are plenty of people in those buildings, you know, they think they're like the people who moved out. They didn't move. They want to stay because they think they're safe in their apartments. Far more people are
What the fuck is that? They think they're safe in their apartments.
than you think. When I see all the death and all that destruction, and it's such a stupid war, because you had a country that was working, had problems, lots of problems, but other countries have problems too. It was such a horrible waste to be doing it. You see swings outside, you see playgrounds, you see hospitals.
Do I though? I mean, I see blown up swing sets.
It's a country. And the people were happy. I guess a lot of them were happy because they're certainly fighting for it. But I'll tell you what I really think. I said,
Okay.
isn't it a shame
Finally.
all those people are dead, all because of a rigged election?
What? What the fuck? Hold on. So he thinks that Russian demographics and a desire for Putin to stitch together the former, like, Russian satellite states into a grand Russia has to do with fucking his bullshit about Arizona and Georgia? What the fuck? Why is it not playing? Play, you silly thing. What happened? Why is it not playing? We don't know. Crap, do I have to reload this stupid thing? Scrub. Play. Who are you? Who? Putin. Trump. Putin is an evil genocidal monster. I'm not sure that's what he said. Hold on. The explosive interview. All right, I gotta reload this page. Give me 1 second. I don't know why this crap does this sometimes. Let's do this. Reload. Back here. Play. Continue watching. This is what I want.
And I said, no longer a brilliant move.
Jesus Christ. That's what he had to think about. There we go. Here we go.
When you see the scenes, Mr. President, of maternity,
Hold on.
I mean, do you agree?
In those buildings, you know, they think they're problems, but other countries have problems too.
Sure.
It was such a horrible waste to be doing it.
Terrible.
You see swings outside, you see
do.
playgrounds, you see hospitals. It was a country.
Yeah.
And the people were happy. I guess a lot of them were happy because they're certainly fighting for it. But I'll tell
Yeah, I mean, a few, sure.
you what I really think. I say, isn't it a shame all those people are dead, all because of a rigged election? Because if our election wasn't rigged, you would have had nobody dead.
When you said to Putin, don't invade Ukraine,
yeah.
what was his response?
Told him what our response was going to be, and his response was, really? I said, really?
What did you say?
Really? Did he say it in Russian? I mean, does it translate?
Your response.
And you know what? If he believed me, good, but if he believed me only 5%, he would have said, I'll never do it.
What did you say the response would be?
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going
Because it didn't happen and it's bullshit, and he knows that Russia has the notes.
to say that, but it was a very strong response.
But did you threaten to use, for example, the nuclear capability?
I don't want to talk about
as he's been doing?
I don't want to talk about that. What I did say is we're going to be very strongly responding if you do that. I also said to President Xi, don't go into Taiwan. And there's going to be a very strong response. They both understood that. They both had the same reaction. Really?
Really? Like, look, he looks right at the camera. They both had a really strong response. It was amazing. They were like, really? The flagon? Xi Jinping went, boy. And Vladimir Putin went, geflagen. Oh.
Really?
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 Really? What the fuck?
Responding if you do that. I also said to President Xi, don't go into Taiwan. And there's going to be a very strong response. They both understood that. They both had the same reaction. Really? Really? I said, really? The thing that may keep him out of Taiwan is how...
Bull fucking shit. That is just nonsense. Really? Really? Holy hell. Okay, first of all, I don't know what the... I don't know how to say really in Russian, but in Chinese it would be jindama. There's almost no way to say jindama in a, like, jindama. Like, you couldn't even, you'd fuck up the tones. It wouldn't even mean the same thing. Jindama? Like, what the, what? Really? 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 I'm really? Please, someone have filmed that conversation.
Russia's doing,
right,
and how vicious it has to be, how horrible it has to be, because China sees that and nobody wants to see what's happening.
What? All right, gibberish.
What would you do right now in Ukraine if you were the president?
Putin uses the N-word. I call it the N-word.
Oof. He actually does use the N-word quite a bit. The Russian version of it, but that's not what he's talking about. Nuclear.
This is the N-word, the nuclear word, all the time.
Yeah, all the time. You're like, pass the butter. I'll nuke you with butter. And I was like, really? And he's like, really?
No, you're not supposed to do that. He uses it on a daily basis.
Yeah, he's like the fucking Smurfs. Well, that's very nukey, Papa Nuke. I feel very nuked right now.
Everybody's so afraid. And as they're afraid, he uses it more and more. That's why he's doing the kind of things he's doing. He's doing them because he thinks nobody's going to ever attack us because they're all stupid and they're afraid to talk about it.
I totally agree with you.
Okay?
So what would you do
about instead of, excuse me, it's a little complicated.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's complicated. Sit back. Anybody, please somebody in the chat start taking notes because I might lose it. It's there's some heavy math going on here.
Instead of, kowtowing, instead of Biden saying, oh, he's got nuclear weapons. He keeps saying he's got we have better weapons. We have the greatest submarine power in history.
So what would you say and do?
I would say we have far more than you do, far more powerful than you, and you can't use that word ever again. You cannot use the nuclear word ever again.
And then he would go, nuclear, and you'd go, oh, boom, and then, really?
If you do, we're going to have problems.
Yes, we're going to have problems. Vocabulary problems.
My reading of what you've been saying is that when you were talking to Putin, when you were president and he was
No, don't fill in the gaps for him, fucko.
talking about potentially invading Ukraine, that you threatened him with your nuclear capability.
I threatened him like he has never been threatened before.
Did you threaten?
Well, like he's never been threatened before. How would you describe that threatening? Well, I've threatened him in a way that he's never been threatened before. I threatened to stop working the balls and the shaft at the same time. And I said, if you keep it up, I'm pulling my pinky out of your butt.
Nuclear weapons.
I don't want to say that. I threatened him like he has never been threatened before.
Yes, with a tickling feather, and one scoop of ice cream, not two. I'm serious. Really?
Your message for people.
That's why I said really, because at the time Trump was actually had one in the stink.
Now, right now, if you could talk to him, what would you say to him?
I would say it's a shame what you've done.
Mm-hmm. You should be ashamed of yourself. Don't you feel ashamed? Shameful. Shamey, shame. And I would wag my finger at him, and then I would keep blowing.
You're killing, I think potentially, look, you know, if these people aren't smart, and they're not, our leaders are not smart. If they're not smart, you're going to end up in a nuclear war.
Fucko, what do you think you're threatening him with? What are you talking about? You just used the word nuke. If you don't watch out, he's going to use nukes. What the fuck?
It's just the beginning.
Yes, nuclear war is just the beginning. Yes, you're right. After that, it's just a lot of wandering the earth in a dusty wasteland, trying to find drinking water with a Geiger counter.
This is the beginning, and I've been the best predictor of things ever. Now,
you actually said you were going to win the election, your re-election easily. Just saying.
It doesn't have to happen. It shouldn't happen. But if our people aren't smart, you can end up in a nuclear war.
So what's your message to him?
I think they're dealing with...
If he's watching this interview, and he will be,
look,
what would you say to him?
I think they're dealing with him incorrectly. I think what they're saying, it's almost like they're speaking with fear. And they don't understand. We have one weapon alone that would destroy everything.
Should Putin get out of Ukraine right now?
They should make a deal, and they can make a deal, and they should do it fast. When people look back...
Hold on. And first of all, that was a hot edit. They should make a deal. Who? The Ukrainians? And what deal? What the fuck are you talking? Like, this is so childish. This is such gibberish. Say it. Say what you would do. Why do maggots put up with this garbage?
On this period of time, we're going to be ashamed at what we've done or what we haven't done to stop this catastrophe. This is...
Then what are we supposed to do? Say what you're supposed to do. What should we be ashamed of? Because we didn't give them enough arms? What do you think? No fly zone? What do you think? We should do a tactical nuke strike ourselves? What are we short of? Jesus Christ.
Catastrophe. This is, in a way, already a world war.
Has Russia made itself with this...
No, go back. He still hasn't answered the fucking question at all.
Has it made itself an enemy of the United States?
Well, I think two things have happened. Number one, they've proven to be less powerful than we thought. That's a good thing from our standpoint. But at the same time, they have a second degree of weapon that is very powerful.
But it's Yiputieta, which is, I think, loosely translated, the reach around.
And nobody can be allowed to use it, talk about it, threaten with it. We have more powerful than them, and there would be no Russia. There would be no Russia.
There'd be no anything, fucko. There's no version of nuclear war where anybody comes... Can somebody get this asshole a copy of War Games stat? Jesus Christ.
We don't want to talk about that.
He'd probably come away going, I told you, computer's bad. That's why I never send emails.
But when I watch Biden say, oh, he's got nuclear weapons, we can't do this.
By the way, at no point has any of those type of phrases been used. Biden has at no point gone, oh, he's got nuclear weapons, we don't, like.
You can't do that. You know, I confronted Kim Jong-un, and all of a sudden I got a call, they'd like to meet. It was like, and we
When
met.
you say confronted him,
and we met in
what did you say to him?
Well, verbally I confronted him, you know that.
You called him names from here.
He said, I have a
And then you flew over there and saluted his general and had Big Macs with him.
button on my desk, meaning a nuclear button. I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but it's bigger and stronger than yours, and mine works. And they said, whoa, nobody's ever talked to us that way. I took a lot of heat when I said that.
Yeah, he kept making Kim Jong-un kept making nukes specifically because he's like, oh shit, they're really going to do it. And that didn't happen. It's a lie. Just garbage. Oh, is this just going to freeze up every so often? Nice job, Fox Nation. Back to me. It'll give me time to set up. So far, he's been asked to what? Let's see. Continue watching. I think we click on that. Play. Continue watching.
Get out of Ukraine right now.
They should make a deal and they can.
Okay, that's the whole thing. Hold on, let me jump forward.
Way already a world war.
Has Russia made itself, with this invasion, has it made itself an enemy of the United States?
Well, I think
And again, that's a very interesting question. He never gets around to it.
two things have happened. Number one, they've proven
That they're weaker.
we have more powerful than them.
Okay.
It was like, and we
when
met.
you say confronted him,
And we met in
what did you say to him?
Okay, Bob.
I took a lot of heat when I said that. I think it's more polarized now than it ever was.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
the
Joe
hatred.
Biden said he would unify the country.
Yeah.
There's certainly no sign of that happening. So anyways, you know that.
By the way, so did Trump.
What do you think was your biggest success?
So when you say polarizing, I think it's more polarized now than it ever was.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
the
Joe
hatred.
Biden said he would unify the country.
Yeah.
There's certainly no sign
Yeah, he's tried. It's almost as if one side is fucking intransigent and is stuck that way.
of that happening. So I don't disagree with you. But,
Well, I
but
think
you know
it's-
that your own tenure, start with your tenure. We'll come to Joe Biden. But your tenure, 4 years, give me the one thing that you're proudest of.
I can't say one because there were too many things.
Yeah. But how about this? I know there's a lot of stuff, but pick one and describe it in detail.
I'll give you one that's a lot of people don't talk about, but then they say, wow, that's true. We started no wars. We didn't have Russia fighting in Ukraine. We didn't.
What the fuck are you talking about? You went to Syria. You gave weapons in the war in Yemen. We had troops in Syria. You moved them to Saudi Arabia.
have China threatening every day Taiwan. They wouldn't have done it, and Russia would have never gone into Ukraine.
Again, proving a negative. This is just silly.
No chance.
How can you be sure about
I
that?
know it. I know my people, and I know Putin, and he would have never done it. I think the
Again, based on fucking what? Well, other than the fact that he was going to give him Ukraine.
Afghanistan withdrawal was so incompetent, with the 85 billion and the dead soldiers.
But to be clear, you wanted withdrawal. You wanted US
sure.
forces out of Afghanistan.
I'm the one that started it.
Right.
I took it down
Your
from-
complaint is about the execution of the withdrawal,
Most
not the actual decision to
incompetent.
withdraw.
Withdraw with strength and with dignity, but
Yeah. Like, obviously, it's the same. Basically, it happens the same way Biden did it, except everyone sticks their pinky out while they do it.
I was the one that got it down to 2,000 soldiers.
How would you have done it if you'd still been president?
Number one, very simple. I would have left the military to last. You don't take out the military first. We took out our military first.
And also, by the way, from the far reaches of the country, we removed those people because they're. What are you gonna do? Fly them to fucking Kabul and hang around? Those people were removed. But then the last person to leave on the transports was a soldier. We sent in 6,000 troops to aid in the removal of everybody. By the way, which this fucker never did any of the prep work.
A child would say you can't do that. We took the military,
I've heard this bullshit about the kid. He told, like, if you get a 6-year-old.
and then we had thousands of people that were American people, some of whom are still there. A large number are still there, bigger than people think.
Well, they put on weight since then. I mean, they're eating, it's a lot of bread.
I have never seen anything so incompetent. And in my opinion, and by the way,
Really? Have you been watching the Russian battle plan in Ukraine lately?
not only the soldiers that were killed, we have horribly wounded.
They're right, the wounded people or whatever. Now, by the way, Trump only went to 4 of the dignified transfers while he was in office. He blew off the rest.
And leaving $85 billion of the best.
Over the course of 20 years. This is a stupid, lazy lie. I don't know why people don't push back on him. Like, why didn't somebody just say that 85 billion number is from that's the whole 20 years we were there. We destroyed a lot of that gear a decade ago. We did it basically every 2 years. We were pulping stuff.
equipment in the world, best military equipment
And
in the
leaving
world.
millions of Afghan women in the hands of the Taliban.
Correct.
Well, yeah, correct. Although, Pierce, I don't know if you know this, but the United States is not allowed to abduct Afghan women.
Immediately taking them back to the Dark Ages.
Correct. That's
by
gone.
trashing their education, trashing their women's rights.
It's all
I mean,
happened.
that's an abrogation of a moral duty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, not if you're. Are you going to go with military force into any country that does not have modern Western sensibilities towards women's rights? What the fuck are you asking for? And by the way, there were 2,500 British soldiers there as well during that time. Nothing stopped the Brits and the French from leaving just because we were. Why would you? Pierce, that's a question for the Queen.
Sure it is.
Do you think that it
Get it.
fueled Vladimir Putin's ambitions with the Ukraine invasion,
Yeah.
seeing
Sure, of course, of course.
what appeared to be America in surrender mode?
Yes, I think that was the reason. I think that's why he did it. When they saw the way we acted in Afghanistan, the way we ran, like surrendered, and again, you have to understand, I had a very strong, very powerful relationship, powerful in the sense that they respected our country and me. There was no
Yeah.
games with.
Yeah, there were no games or whatever. Well, there were a couple of games. He had this one where I dressed up in a French maid outfit. But, no, I mean, on that was personal.
The Taliban and its leader, who's still
Oh,
there,
my God, Abdul. We're going to hear the Abdul.
by the way. And they would have never done this.
I agree.
We ran away. He said,
Bullshit.
hey, this is no longer Trump. I'm going to go in and take you.
But let me
And
play-
then it worked out to be not so good.
Right.
And then it worked out to be, not so good. Apparently, he thought, Trump's not in there. Biden's a wuss. I believed all this bullshit. Hold on.
Which everybody wants to know. The latest poll says if the 2024 election was held tomorrow, you would beat Joe Biden by 6 points and Kamala Harris by 11 points. In other words, you would be re-elected President of the United States. So are you going to run again?
Well, you know, for reasons of campaign finance and everything, I'm not allowed to say.
Because he wants to keep making money on the Save America PAC.
Let me just say this. I think a lot of people are going to be very happy.
So you
Look at that face. There he is. That's the I'm bullshitting face, looking right at the camera. Every so often, and you'll notice this happens in interviews, when he knows he's bullshitting hard, he looks nervously at the fact that he is being filmed.
I love our country. Our country.
You mean America, or are you speaking of another country that I'm not aware of? Some sort of like deep state subversive version of America, like the Confederate States. You haven't signed on to the Confederate Constitution at this point, have you? I don't know why these guys have such a hard time saying I love America.
Is going to hell. I think a lot of people are going to be very
So
happy.
you're going to run.
I'm not going to say that, but I think people are going to be happy. You might even be happy.
If it's you
Yeah, I don't think so.
against Joe Biden, if you win the Republican nomination again and he runs again, would you beat him?
I believe right now, anybody, I think you could beat him right now. Our country's a mess. Our country has never been so disrespected.
That's a no, by the way.
Our borders have never been so open. We've never had in 44 years inflation like we have it.
If you run again and you win, which could well happen, and I think
If you're fucking the Easter Bunny and an asteroid is headed towards the Earth, and let's just say that the dinosaurs have come back for the purpose of this story, and which list of Santas do you think you'll be on, naughty or nice?
over the Republican candidate,
happen. Could
right
happen.
now it looks like the Democrats are going to get shellacked in the midterms. It's quite likely whoever is the Republican nominee will end up being president. It could be you again. And for as many people who think that's a great idea, you'll know there are lots of people who think that would be a total nightmare.
Far less.
Far less. I mean, 50% of the people in this picture actually think that. Just saying, Pierce thinks it would be a nightmare. Although I think Trump thinks it'd be a nightmare too. I don't think he wants to do it again. Honest to fucking God. I think he's enjoying making money off this bullshit. And I think he sees himself as a post-presidency kingmaker. And that's enough. If he can just have enough Republicans who owe him their seat in Congress or in the Senate or something like that, he can count on them to protect him. That'll be enough.
Far less?
I think so, yeah. I think far less. I think people are very angry at this country. They're very
angry at this country. They're mad at America for not re-electing Trump. You know.
At our leadership. They wish they had their vote to do again. We didn't need their vote because, again, we won the election by a tremendous margin. We won the election actually.
No, you didn't. No, you fucking well didn't. No, 1,000 times no. Just,
very easily.
One of the other questions about...
Look at that. They cut his response out because that's what got him in trouble, apparently, in this interview, was him going, no, you didn't.
Potentially running again is you've been in that pressure cauldron of the White House with your family. They've all come under huge attack. Your children, your wife, Melania. Would you be happy to put them back in there? Would they be happy to be back in there?
Well, I won't get into that, but I will tell you they all love the country, and we did a great
I won't get into that, but I will get into that.
job.
And it's been a tumultuous time for the world, for the country. There is a chance.
What the fuck kind of edit job was that? The hell?
Would you be happy to put them back in there? Would they be happy to be back in there?
Well, I won't get into that, but I will tell you they all love the country, and we did a great job.
And it's been a tumultuous time for the world.
Jesus, he couldn't even finish the word job.
Country. There is a chance that you're going to be running. Quite clearly, you've made that clear in this interview.
I don't think I've made it clear.
You said people are going to be...
He's like, no, I have not made it clear. Because legally I can't make it clear, or my gravy train will dry up and I'm fucked. That's what that is. Shit. Now I gotta do. If I pause too much, it freezes. I beg your pardon, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You're watching HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. I'm here every afternoon doing this show, and it's days.
Your wife, Melania.
Hold on. Days like this.
Would you be happy to put them back in there? Would they
make
be
it all
to
worth
be back
it?
in there?
Well, I won't get into that, but I will tell you they all love the country, and we did a great job.
And it's been a tumultuous time for the world, for the country.
For the world, for the country. There's a lot of editing.
There is a chance that you're going to be running. Quite clearly, you've made that clear in this interview.
I don't think I've made it clear.
You said people are going to be
I think
happy.
that's it, but I think people are going to be very happy. I don't...
I've been told that legally that's a phrase I could get away with, and
There'll be people unhappy, but I think people are going to be very happy.
So those
there'll be people unhappy, mainly the QAnon people, but they're always miserable, those fuckers.
who don't like you, there's
Just saying for the record. I don't really like either of these guys, just in case I need to go on record.
people out there that don't like you. I know you said recently that you were very popular, and I think you said you were the most honest man in the world last week.
I'm a very honest man.
Was that true?
Yeah, I think I'm a very honest man. That's
But
true.
to those who don't like
You think you are? You think you're a very honest man? That's a weird way to answer that question.
you,
Much
and-
more honest than you, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm pretty honest.
Because I don't think you're real.
Really?
But yeah, I think I'm a much more honest person in most ways, in most respects.
Why am
than
I
you
not
are.
real?
But when
By the way, this escalates oddly right away. This is fucked up. But it's because they cut out a big chunk of his jibber jabber and possibly the walkout thing that you saw, the video that they had in the ad, was in the middle of this.
we get into that, let's finish up the interview. Go ahead.
Yeah, see, this is the part where they just slice. It's 75 fucking minutes. They're getting to the tail end of this.
Go ahead.
My question was this: what message do you have to people who can't think of anything worse than you running again and will be distressed about it? Would you come back with all the experience you've had of being president? Would you come back a different person? Would you do?
By the way, he's over, and like, they cut so much out of this. This just leapt forward. He looks fucking more bloated and miserable, like, that it's
a bit differently.
Like, it's like a week passed between the two edits.
So I like this question in a certain way because I
In a certain way.
came in and I was attacked from day one.
Boo fuckity who. From the guy who said that Obama wasn't even born here and his supporters think is gay and that his wife is a man and blah, blah, yeah. Boo hoo.
Unfairly, Russia was a hoax. The impeachment hoax, number one. Number two, it was all a big hoax. The Mueller report.
Yeah, imagine how people would have just left it alone if you'd allowed Mueller to look into your finances. It would have all just dried up quickly.
And I had to fight back, and I had to fight back strongly. And if I didn't fight back strongly, I wouldn't have survived. And I say it, and I say it loud. I had two jobs to do. Run the country really well, and the second
Well, okay, so fail, and then what?
was to survive. No.
Well, I mean, I think that's true of every president. I mean, I don't know what standard are you using, Lincoln and Kennedy or Nixon?
The president went through this fake stuff.
I only ask you, when we did Celebrity Apprentice together, which I really enjoyed, and it was good. Yeah.
This is the last question.
Did that with you. I saw a very different Donald Trump in the boardrooms for those hours every night. You were...
Yeah, you were the one that... You mean the Donald Trump that's told what to do by the producers around him and pretends to know what's going on? Oh, no, same guy, sorry.
You know, you weren't as aggressive and confrontational.
Except I wasn't under siege with
That's what I mean.
phony Russia
I
hunts.
understand.
Phony Russia
hunts
is what he said.
By the way, I
And
agree
I
with you,
wasn't-
but the Russia collusion thing was ridiculous.
No, and many others.
Right, but my point is, if you got a chance again, would we see more of that Donald Trump, do you think?
Depends on how you're greeted. But if you're greeted unfairly, you have to be tough and you have to fight. I would like that. I would much prefer that. But it depends on how you're greeted. But I would do...
How you greet it? Hello, bull.
I say this, our country's in trouble.
Uh-huh.
Something has to happen. And if it doesn't happen, and if we don't have smart leadership,
I mean, by the way, for the record, this is just a needle drop from Trump 2014.
end up with no world. The world is going to be blown to pieces.
Well, dude, I got news for you. If you have a chance to run again, it will not have been blown to pieces. If it makes it through the next 6 months, it ain't going to be a fucking problem. And so far, you've made no suggestions that you could solve that problem in the next 6 months, except by threatening, what, the use of nukes if Putin even says the word nuke again?
We have stupid people now running our country. The world is going to be blown to pieces.
How would you stop the world from being blown to pieces? Look, we had a great wall.
Well, it's a cheery thought, isn't it? And a ferocious verdict on the United States under President Joe Biden in his first term.
Hold on. Is that the tail end of this bullshit? Hold on. There we go.
Germany
I was.
for being so energy dependent on Russia. You've been completely vindicated
true.
about Angela
That's
Merkel.
right.
In fact, her reputation is getting shattered with every day this conflict goes
It
on.
should be shattered. She should have never done it. I had it out with her. I sent her the white flag of surrender.
No, he held up a napkin.
I sent her a white flag. It was in
He didn't send anything.
the form of a
You
large...
sent her one.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I had it brought right over to her at a different table. I said, it's the white flag of surrender.
Will you just carry one with you at all times? So that's something new. Trump carries the white flag of surrender everywhere he goes, just in case Putin wants to FaceTime.
She said, but what do you mean? I said, you are dependent on Russia for energy. You must be kidding. I mean, just look at the history of Germany and Russia. When it happens, you might as well just do me a favor. Lift this flag of surrender.
Basically, he's saying you guys are going to have to duck out of NATO when Ukraine is attacked in the future.
You know what it was? It was a very luxurious napkin,
Right. He sent her a fucking napkin.
okay?
Where was it?
And I sent it
Where did you do it?
at one of the meetings, at one of our many meetings we had with, between the G7, the G20, you have all the different Gs. But I said,
G-Star Raw, I think it was.
you're going to be someday in a problem with...
By the way, yeah, for the record, when he started telling this bullshit story, like months ago, I was like, it was a fucking napkin. There is no goddamn way he mailed her a white flag. He waved a napkin at something to try and make this point. And the whole purpose was to disintegrate NATO.
Russia.
Didn't actually give a fuck.
You're going to have no choice but to surrender because
And
they
the new
have...
German leader's done a complete U-turn. He recognised that what you were saying then was completely correct.
But who wouldn't recognize? I also think that when
Apparently Angela Merkel, dum-dum.
took in millions of people, she hurt Germany very badly. Millions of people flowed through Europe and flowed into a country she hurt. Instead of resettling them someplace and spending money, but settling in their area, where they would rather be anyway. The war forced them out. Bush got us into that mess in the Middle East. Bush has done a tremendous disservice. People forget.
We were supposed to meet
No, we don't.
in December 2019, just before the pandemic, in London. And at the last minute, you cancelled my interview because of an intervention from the British Prime Minister, I believe.
Well, that's true. I mean, you knew that. And I was over there as his guest. So if he asks me not to do that, I have to do that. We have had...
Why didn't he want you to talk to me?
I don't know. I didn't even ask him.
The election, the UK election, was a few days later.
Yeah.
I was told it was because he was worried that between us we might create something that may cost him the election.
Well, I like him, and I've always liked him. I think he's getting a little bit liberal. He's getting a little bit green.
A little bit liberal, a little bit green. Good Lord. Hold on. Let's see if we can... Go here. Okay. Pelosi to blame for the Capitol riots. Yeah, she was responsible for security. How could she not know that my psycho rally wouldn't result in violence? I mean, anybody who looks at these things knows that there was no way a bunch of crazy Trumpers wasn't going to try and kill a bunch of cops on the steps of the Capitol that day. I mean, why wouldn't you call out the National Guard?
Well, Mitch McConnell is
I know.
not a good representative.
You can respond to what he says, but he still remains.
This party.
He remains the senior Republican.
Unfortunately.
Okay, but he is right now. Okay?
We'll see what happens.
Okay, fair enough. But he said this. He's acknowledged that Joe Biden was the legitimate winner of the 2020 election. He's rejected your claims of fraud. And he said about January the 6th, we were all there. We saw what happened. It was a violent
This is going to go very badly.
insurrection for the purpose of trying to prevent the peaceful transfer of power after a legitimately certified election from one administration to the next. That's what it was. He told this to the Senate on February.
By the way, is there a lack of table between these two assholes just so Trump can like lurch at him? By the way, over in that corner is the Trump fucking weirdo golf picture. See this? The stupid one where his leg's up that he paid for with the charity money. And usually there's like a table over in the corner. I always thought there was a door right here, but apparently it's just, there's either a curtain that goes over the door just for looks, but it's always like they're interviewing in these giant empty rooms for it's just odd. It's just really an odd setting. You know what I mean? Like, you're sitting down at Mar-a-Lago, and these are the most, like, uncomfortable, or this is, I think, Bedminster, maybe. But they're the most uncomfortable-looking spaces. They're just devoid of life, and there's no, whether you interview anybody, if you're interviewing Jimmy Carter, he's in a fucking living room. Or if you do it with Obama, it's like they're at a house. Trump, everything is in these, like, just rando chairs in the middle of a room. Is that not... Am I the only person? Okay, fine. Oh, fuck you. Start again, you stupid. Hold on. I can't... I mess around for 2 seconds. By the way, welcome to HAL SPARKS Mega Worldwide. Like and subscribe. Don't forget. Let's see. We'll get back to here. And we'll go to here.
Nancy Pelosi was in charge of security. Didn't do her job.
She's half in charge of it. So the Republicans
the mayor of
and
D.C.
the Democrats have equal share of
the
that.
mayor of D.C. and Nancy Pelosi are in charge
Actually,
of
the Republicans and the Democrats have 50-50. But she was actually cowering for terror in fear of her life that day because there was a huge mob of people who were attacking the center of democracy in America. I want to read you what Mitch McConnell said.
Like, he's not liking that, though. Listen to this sniffing. Ugh. This is where we get to the McConnell part. By the way, the idea is that she should have known and had National Guard on the steps that day. Imagine his response if she'd have put, like, soldiers on the steps. Like, they knew this would be a PR nightmare for Democrats if they, put soldiers between the Capitol and his followers that day. Like, see, they think they're declaring war on us. Like, and so they were like, nothing's going to happen.
He's the Senate minority leader.
Well, Mitch McConnell is not a good representative.
You can respond to what he said.
He's still employed.
But he still remains.
This party.
He remains the senior Republican.
Unfortunately.
Okay, but he is right now. Okay?
We'll see what happens.
Okay, fair enough.
There's no Kevin McCarthy.
But he said this. He's acknowledged that Joe Biden was the legitimate winner of the 2020 election. He's rejected your claims of fraud. And he said about January the 6th, we were all there, we saw what happened. It was a violent insurrection for the purpose of trying to prevent the peaceful transfer of power after a legitimately certified election from one administration to the next.
Also, who the fuck sits like that?
What it was. He told this to the Senate on February the 13th last year. Former President Trump's actions preceding the riot were a disgraceful dereliction of duty. He then said there's no question that President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of that day. Yeah. And even this, he said about the rioters, they did this because they'd been fed wild falsehoods by the most powerful man on earth because he was angry he'd lost an election.
Okay. Number one, he knew nothing about what took place in the election. The press hates to write about it, but that election was rigged and it was stolen.
But you said to me once.
100%. Okay, I don't mean a little bit.
Right.
And you know, it's funny, when a Hillary Clinton or when Stacey Abrams says, oh, the election was rigged, nobody says anything. But when...
Well, yeah, I mean, they complain about lack of voting machines or limitations put on Republicans on Democratic voters in certain areas, especially minorities. They definitely bring that stuff up. But none of them like sick people on the process.
Trump says it, but the difference is I have proof, and we have massive proof.
Okay, but let me ask...
No, you don't.
What you have to do is take a look.
Let me ask you.
Take a look at the ballot harvesting that took place.
Let me ask you this.
Millions of votes.
You said to me once that if you talk...
By the way, they just busted a dude who was harvesting ballots for the RNC, for a Republican Senate candidate or a House candidate. You're going to tell me he did it for that House candidate, but he wasn't doing it for, like, up the chain? Dude died before he could testify, before he could be sentenced.
And you're a great talker. I've seen that.
No. He's a terrible talker. Gullible people always want to tell you how smooth the person that conned them was.
If you talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. In the context...
And I was going to walk down there with you, but they wouldn't let me.
Your claim about the fraudulent election, it's been 14 months and we've not seen this hard evidence of the fraud that you say happened.
The press won't report it. The press,
you haven't produced
this is like a communist country.
Where is the press?
It's all over the place.
Yeah, it's like a communist country with an internet that can reach the entire earth and the power for anybody to rent the press offices in the Capitol and give a speech. Anybody can get on a fucking podcast. Anybody can upload any info they have. They can have a searchable database of all these stupid fucking affidavits. Good Lord.
We have
I've read everything. Can I just put another thing to you? Because I've watched this whole debate, Rage, and you've been completely unflagging in your refusal to accept defeat. And
you know why, though? You know why? Because if our country doesn't have fair and free elections, and if our country doesn't have borders...
We do, by the way.
We don't have...
We do have borders, by the way.
Country.
Okay.
We have crooked, corrupt elections.
But here's what I would say to you.
And I've proven it.
Here's what I would say to you. I believe it was a free and fair election and that you lost.
You don't really believe that?
That's my belief.
All right. Well, then you're a fool.
However...
Then you're a fool.
Maybe I am... Maybe I'm the fool in this conversation about it.
And you're a fool and you haven't studied it.
Okay, I have studied it. Well, maybe...
Uh-oh, here it comes. He's holding on this. This is the... we're going to jump around to that part and get to the Hunter Biden laptop. Right.
Proof that he sold influence while his father was vice president.
Nonsense.
But the liberal-run social media giants squashed the scandal, with Twitter and Facebook shamefully blocking the Post scoop. They even stopped the Post having an account. And mainstream media dismissed it all as Russian disinformation.
It is.
So none of them reported it properly. And some believe that...
Excuse me, if you would have studied, you would know that they'd have reported it honestly at the time. They'd go, show us a picture of the laptop, and they go, well, I have a hard drive. What's on the hard drive? A copy of a thing I got from Rudy Giuliani. And the stories would be, New York Post tells Rudy Giuliani to go fuck himself.
Had done, it could have swung the election in Trump's favor. In other words, if more people had known about this story, if more people had scrutinized this story, if it hadn't been so...
By the way, scrutinize the story with the information they could get in 2 weeks leading up to the election. Just like the Hillary Clinton email scandal, which turned out to be nothing. By the time people had found out all the information, the election would have been over, and it would have changed their opinion. If they'd actually learned the whole truth, which they didn't have time to do in that period, it would have affected Trump's vote.
Censored, then they might have voted differently or stayed at home. I put this to President Trump. There is another twist in this tale where I think you're on much stronger ground and where I would agree with you, and that is the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop scandal.
What laptop?
Which is what it's become.
There is no laptop.
And it could lead right to the top with Joe Biden.
No,
we don't know yet.
No, you don't.
But it seems to me that the way that mainstream media...
Been 2 fucking years. All of Biden's quote-unquote enemies have had a copy of this fucking hard drive for 2 goddamn years. If it hasn't led anywhere yet, it's not going to.
Tech giants conspired to suppress that story, literally removing it from social media platforms.
Because it was an incomplete story, and it was puffery, and it was bullshit, and they couldn't back it up.
Not reporting it, not chasing it. 50 senior people coming out saying this was Russian disinformation.
P.S. Maxey, who provided the thing to the New York Post at the time, would not give a copy of the stuff that he'd gotten from that hard drive, allegedly, that he gave to the Post, the paper copies, would not give any other newspaper, and Giuliani wouldn't either, any other paper who asked for it, a copy of the hard drive itself to look at for themselves. Because if he had, the whole thing would fucking fall apart in 2 days.
All complete nonsense. Yeah. There is a belief that that could have swung the election your way. In other words, when you talk about having a stolen election...
It was supposed to. The same way the Hillary Clinton Comey press conference swung the election in Trump's way initially, and then turned out to be a lie.
Actually, you're on better ground, it seems to me, with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
They say it made a 17-point difference. But you know what? Even without that, I won it, and we won it big, and we won it easily. It was so corrupt in Wisconsin that they're saying, what do we do? They don't know what to do. They caught him.
Yeah, the Republicans in Wisconsin don't know what to do, because every time they look for votes that were cast fraudulently, if they find anything, it's that there are more Biden votes.
Oh, only a fool, and I guess you're a fool, only a fool would think that was a legitimate...
You think I'm a fool?
I do now, yeah.
Frank Sinatra said the best revenge is massive success. Isn't your best revenge, rather than talking constantly about the last election...
I don't talk constantly, but you brought it up.
You do?
I didn't.
Yeah, he does.
You brought it up.
Come on, eat away.
Excuse me. You brought it up. I didn't. I don't talk about it very much.
He talks about it in every interview and every rally. He can't even mention. I think he mentioned in his fucking Easter message he put out.
Say it was rigged. Mitch McConnell is stupid, and he shouldn't have allowed it to happen, but he did.
Oh, look at this. Look at the fucking chyron. Mitch McConnell is stupid. That's what you get.
But if you look at the results and if you look at what happened, but even you sitting here saying, well, that doesn't matter. But the law,
I think
the
facts
law
matter.
is, look,
I think
the
facts
law
matter.
is,
Mr.
even
President,
the
with
numbers.
respect, your own Vice President, Mike Pence, says you lost the election.
Mike was
The
foolish.
head of the Republicans
Mike
in the
was
Senate
foolish.
says you lost it.
Mike was foolish, and he was weak.
Yeah, that's why you picked him, I think, right? That was what you were looking for, a lapdog who would stare lovingly at you. Uh-oh. What are they laughing about?
Political history. But no, because he doesn't think that election was rigged or stolen, he too gets thrown under the bus. Well, that was the end of part one of my extraordinary interview with Donald Trump. On tomorrow's Piers Morgan Uncensored, we'll show part two, which contains a number of further remarkable revelations. Now, the president and I didn't...
All right, this asshole is just baiting people to watch for the blow-up. I mean, a lot of it's sweaty, uncomfortable bullshit. But the part he walks out on, I guess he's going to say... I mean, he got 75 fucking minutes. How much you want to bet this asshole got his agreement set a 20-minute interview in your show? And so he can only put 20 minutes per show, so he's going to end up doing like 4.5 shows on it. Fuck it, duck. Every time I stop it, it freezes up. I don't know what that is. I don't know why. But I do know I want you to like and subscribe. Hold on.
Her reputation is getting shattered with every day this conflict.
It should be shattered. She should have never done it.
Okay, that's the Merkel blah, blah, blah. Merkel too dependent on Russia. We were there. Tomorrow, the explosive interview continues. Hey,
please. You know, I think Harry has been led.
Oh my God. Hold on. Back the fuck up.
Did almost everything. It'll end, and it'll end bad. And I wonder if Harry's going to go back on his hands and knees back into the beautiful city of London and say, please. You know, I think Harry has been led down a path.
So not a fan of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, but Donald Trump is a great fan of other members of the royal family, including Her Majesty the Queen and Camilla, the Queen in waiting.
She was on my right, the Queen was on my left, and I said, Queen, I really have to talk to Camilla for a little while too. You know, we couldn't break apart. And I talked to Camilla, and Camilla was so nice. You know, different than I thought. She was funny, she was smart, quick.
There was one other quite simple question I wanted to put to Donald Trump. It's one that's troubled many politicians at the moment. And it's this: what is a woman? This was his reply.
A woman is somebody that swims at a certain time and doesn't get beaten by 38 seconds by somebody that wasn't even a good swimmer as a male.
All right, that settles it. That's now the standard for obstetrics and gynecology in the state of Florida.
And as Elon Musk has made his bid to take over Twitter, this is Donald Trump's response to what he perceives to be the hypocrisy of the social media platform. Things they did, which I think are really contentious. One, they've continued to ban you from the platform, but they allow Vladimir Putin to have a Twitter account. They allow the supreme leader of Iran to have a Twitter account. They allow a number of Taliban leaders to have a Twitter account. I don't see how they can square off allowing those people to have.
Because our people in this country and half of our citizenry doesn't look at those things and go, oh, that's marching orders. That's why. Because there's a plausible distancing from the messaging that comes from those things. Because you go, oh, it's from the fucking supreme leader of Iran. What are they saying? Obviously, it's PR.
Their platform.
The weird part is that Vladimir Putin, Taliban leaders, and the supreme leader of Iran apparently managed to post all the shit they believe without violating the terms of service.
But not a former president of the United States.
Do you know why? Because they're sick. They're mentally ill.
All right.
Well,
that settles it. So Mitch McConnell's stupid, and the people who run Twitter are sick. They're mentally ill. We have stupid leaders, and it never would have happened. And if he was president, Putin would be afraid to say the word nuclear, even in Russian. Whoops. Well, that was weird. I turned the audio off. Sorry. What was that? Oh, something else. What happened? It's weird that way. I think I want to say this is part of the software that it just doesn't want me to be able to use the audio. Anyways, that's for tomorrow. We'll move to the next one. Hopefully it will work. Let me see. Go back to here. Hi, you're watching HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. I'm having popcorn because anytime Trump attacks his own party, you know, popcorn time. By the way, how are you? In the chat, what's happening? Like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show in any way that you can. Is this the live picture? What is happening? There we go. Who do we have? Okay. Why did my picture move? There we go. All right. Let me see. Logic. Oh, I see. You can't move it. I see. How about that? Yeah, there we go. Centered. Excellent. Lock. The ridiculousness of, I mean, obviously it gives us something else to do tomorrow. What do you think? And tomorrow night I'm at the Jam at at the Whiskey here in Hollywood, and then of course followed up by Nerd Halen Wednesday night. There we go. All right, that's good. Now let's see if I can get the audio on the other thing to run, or if it's going to be weird. Meanwhile, let's see, where's this? Here we go. I'm going to see if this works in any way.
See, Kevin.
Yeah, here we go. So, Stankfield. Hey, it's Stank. Leaked audio reveals Kevin McCarthy recommended Trump resign. That's what that Chiron says. Trump advisor rips leaked audio of Kevin McCarthy bashing Trump on Stank. Zero integrity. And that's why I got popcorn today, kids. That's why I brought popcorn. Because this is one of those days where whenever you interview Trump or watch a rally, he can't help but shit on his own party. And boy, oh boy, are they having a rough time right now with all this Kevin McCarthy leaked audio. And apparently there's a lot more to come. Everybody wants to believe that Liz Cheney leaked this audio when apparently she wasn't even there to record it. Or like he's talking to her on the phone and you can barely hear her because she's not there, but then she's the one who recorded it. Somebody in his office friggin' hates McCarthy. And I think that would be everyone. But let's find out. This is ex-Trump advisor. Who's this? Oh, Dick Morris. Shit.
Kevin McCarthy did lie. He claimed to support Trump publicly when he wanted to make him resign privately.
Terrible.
So we have no tolerance
no.
for this backroom bullcorn. I don't have.
Yeah, no bullcorn at all. Just popcorn. As I don't know. Not bullcorn.
You don't have it. None of us have it. McCarthy needs to step down from leadership.
Right away. I agree. Bam. Out immediately. Put somebody who knows what they're doing in charge. Somebody who's got a strategic mind. Somebody who can really craft the message for the Republicans going into the midterms. I'm thinking Lauren Boebert. If she's not available, MTG. Put Matt Gaetz in there. They could do it as a tag team. It's not like either one of them is going to be busy with shit outside the Congress to keep them. I'm saying.
I doubt that he will. So, folks.
Yeah, I doubt he will too. It's weird, Stank. It's almost as if the Republicans listen to you less than Democrats do.
What does all this mean for Kevin McCarthy's political?
Yeah, what does it mean? Tell me. I'm very excited.
Future. I'm joined now by former advisor to Presidents Clinton and Trump and host of Dick Morris Democracy.
And man most likely to be voted arrested while driving an ice cream truck for violating an order to stay 500 yards away from a school, Dick Morris.
Here on Newsmax, Dick Morris is with us. Dick, welcome.
Good to be here, Grant.
So
it's Stank. It's pronounced Stank.
What do you make of this, Dick? And
what do you make of this, Dick?
What do you think it means for McCarthy?
Well, it's hard to watch someone committing ritual suicide on tape, but that's what we...
By the way, a man set himself on fire in front of the Supreme Court on Friday. True. A climate activist and a Buddhist set himself on fire, tried to kill himself. People put him out. He was taken to the hospital. He perished at the hospital. Very sad. There is no way Dick Morris doesn't know this.
Just watched with McCarthy. McCarthy was an acquired taste to Republican conservatives. And he's a California Republican, which is, you know, a little suspect in the first
You know what that means.
place, certainly.
Yeah, like Devin Nunes, for example, or
Numbered. And he's never really been a movement conservative like a Gingrich was,
no, he's sort of a bowel movement conservative,
or others have been. But I think that for McCarthy, it probably means that he's going to have to leave. And I think that Trump will make sure that he has to leave.
How? First of all, no. He's protecting him now the same way he's protecting Vance.
For the Republican Party, I don't think much. They'll have other leaders, and they'll do really well. Scalise, for example, the guy who was shot in what really was a terrorist attack, could be a candidate for that.
As opposed to what? fake terrorist attacks. Oh, I think that's a Jan 6.
Dick, I can tell you, I ran
Yes, it's true. He can tell you, Dick.
Congress in 2011 in a Republican primary. I lost, obviously.
Obviously. Thanks for the reminder, Stank. We knew.
I was calling out problems with Kevin McCarthy all the way back then. I've been warning about this guy.
And you didn't win? That's weird. He won his election. Huh. Weird.
A long time. I know you're very close to President Trump. How do you think he takes this? Have you talked to him about it?
No, and if I did, I would keep my head well away from the phone because my eardrums couldn't handle what would
Your ear germs?
out the other end. McCarthy has been walking a tightrope. The only way McCarthy survives this is that he looks good by comparison with McConnell.
I ran out of popcorn. No, I still have some left. Still have some popcorn left. If this keeps up, I'm going to have to go into the house and get another bag. I'm just saying.
And that's not very good at all. So
not.
let me offer up some of the problems that we now face, and that's the media being able to use this to push more January 6th nonsense. Even Joe Biden jumped on it in a bizarre way, as Joe Biden is always bizarre when he speaks.
Sure.
But let me play this clip for you and then get your reaction.
This ain't your father's Republican Party. Not a joke. All you got to do is look what is being played this morning about the tape that was released. Anyway, you know, but all kidding aside, this is the MAGA party now. It's, you know, you got the senator from Texas and others. These guys are a different breed of cat.
Yep.
I don't know what he's talking about other than
He means Ted Cruz. And these people are not your standard Republican at all.
he's right. It is a MAGA party now, and the guy
Right. Exactly. That's its problem.
Texas, maybe Cruz, is a good conservative.
Yeah, he's great. And you know what I like about him is his machismo. He doesn't sound at all like somebody slammed George H.W. Bush's balls in a car door.
What are you talking about, Dick?
Well, it is perfectly true that the Republican Party has undergone what at the time was really a hostile takeover. Now it's a friendly takeover by...
No, it isn't. It was a hostile takeover. There's no friendly version after the fact. It literally is a loyalist wipeout.
Donald Trump.
Hold on, I'm going to sneeze.
And the rhinos are gone. They're being banished one at a time. You can see the hit list of people who voted to impeach.
Maybe this helped
Well, that was an edit.
all of us America First patriots.
Yeah,
here.
it
People
totally
in
does.
flyover nations, they call it. I broadcast from Texas. Maybe
Texas isn't a fucking flyover state. Stop acting like you're in Arkansas, asshole, or even that you care. Here's the funny thing. If Stank goes anywhere, he flies right over the states that are in the middle of the country. Iowa, Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri. He doesn't stop in those fucking places. He goes from Texas to New York, or Texas to Wyoming to fucking duck hunt or some shit.
maybe this helps us.
Yeah, it does. I think more tape of your leaders should come out. I agree.
McCarthy's getting caught on tape to really open the eyes that there are rhinos in Washington, and President Trump was right.
And by the way, I just saw that go by in the chat, but you're absolutely right. If only Peter Lorre was alive, this is the role he was born to play.
I think absolutely. I think that McCarthy is a holdover from an earlier era of Republican leadership.
Yeah, he's so old. You know what I mean? It's like a different era entirely.
Guys like Hastert, who really were, in effect, rhinos.
Is it Hastert? Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I think he probably took rhino horn at some point.
And I think that it's good to have them outed. The interesting thing is, if he goes away...
Wait a minute. Are you saying McCarthy and Hastert? Hastert was busted as a pedophile. Are you saying there's some other tape about McCarthy that's yet to come out? Dick?
Who takes his place? My own preference would be Scalise, who...
Yes, you mentioned him earlier.
Was shot and
was he shot? Did you mention that he was shot? You should probably, the next time you say Scalise, mention he was shot.
Survived it and didn't go crying in his soup. I think
he went to the hospital and recovered. What do you mean didn't go crying in his soup? What the fuck are you talking about?
The whole bit about January 6th is so totally phony. So welcome to the real world, guys. You were in a demonstration, a riot, and
yeah, you were in a demonstration, a riot. It's all phony. I mean, not to the cops who were, the cop that was tased so many times he had a heart attack.
And the way you handled the recount and the way you handled all of the court cases, it's understandable that happened. And
how was it handled? We had dozens of them. Nothing fucking happened.
Wake up and face reality, guys. And the fact that
isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that I mean, you and me. I mean, honestly, like joke.
The fact that they were all crying over their spilled milk. My God, our lives.
Now I'm confused. When you cry over spilled milk, does that go right into your soup?
In jeopardy by an unarmed group of people.
No, they had guns in a truck nearby, and there were organized groups. Also, arms aren't just guns. The idea also that if you beat a cop, you can take their gun, which they did, if you'll recall. Oh, the guy jumps over. I think this is a, like, trying to save me from myself situation. Yeah, where they won't allow the audio to play while it's on screen. Could possibly be that reason.
Spies us. See, Kevin McCarthy.
Hold on, right? Let's see. I think we're here. Hold on. I'm gonna have to re-up my software. Apparently, it's trying to, protect me from copyright. Which
no, and if I did, I would keep my head.
Right.
MAGA party now, and the guy.
All right, whatever.
McCarthy's getting caught on tape to really open the eyes that there are rhinos in Washington, and President Trump was right.
They're everywhere. Yeah, I wouldn't trust, if I was a Republican right now, I wouldn't trust any of these guys. I think you got to do a clean sweep. I think you should run 9, 10, 15 people in each primary. I think they should all have to leg wrestle for dominance. I think you should check everyone's testosterone levels, even the women. That should be your predicate as a Republican for running somebody. And if they refuse to do it, obviously they're a commie. So don't let them even in the battle. Once they're in, though, like there should just be an onslaught or whatever. Screw debate. You pulled out of the debates for a reason. It should be arm wrestling, and then a Dirty Harry trivia. And whoever gets to the front, then sorry.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think that McCarthy is a holdover from an earlier era, in effect, rhinos. And I think that it's good to have them outed. The interesting thing is, if he goes away, who takes his place?
Yes.
My own preference.
Yes, Scalise, right.
Didn't go crying in his soup.
There we go.
I think this whole bit about January 6th is so totally phony.
Crying over spilled
milk.
milk.
Welcome to the real world, guys. You were in a demonstration, a riot, and the way you handled the recount and the way you handled all of the court cases, it's understandable that happened.
Yeah.
And wake up and...
Yeah, it's understandable. Yeah. I mean, look, obviously, Al Gore ended up winning the 2000 election, and, Democrats didn't attack the Capitol because the Supreme Court that was leaning right at the time interfered with the ability and stopped the ability of Florida to count its votes and made them stop counting while Bush was ahead. Had they allowed the count to go on, he would have lost, and Gore would have been president. But you can expect that if something like that happens, Democrats are going to, of course, storm the Capitol and beat cops with a Blue Lives Matter flag, which we didn't even have at that time. We'd have to make them up.
Guys, and
we'd have to beat them with a rolled-up poster of an inconvenient truth, which also wouldn't have happened because that movie wasn't out yet.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, and the fact that they were all crying over their spilled milk. My God, our lives were in jeopardy by an unarmed group of people.
They brought a gallows, fucko.
We actually had to meet a constituent
give me a break
to
on it all.
Yeah.
Exactly. Dick Morris, as always, thank you. Have a great weekend.
Also, this has been bothering me. A couple of the like streamers that I look at for like information on how to stream better, and obviously I still have work to do. Hi. This is my road gear, so you could be a little more forgiving. But as I chip away at trying to make it better, I've been, I watch a lot of videos on streaming and that kind of stuff. And one of the guys that I look at the end of his videos, as he's talking like I'm talking to you, his camera, whoever's editing the clip, does this. Hold on, let me unlock this. Whoever's doing it, his camera does this while he's talking, and then all this empty space is happening around the outer part, like there, and then that's where all the little screens go that says you click here if you want to watch something else and stuff. Whereas Newsmax and Fox and all these stations have all these fucking people working on them, and they do this shit. I mean, half the time on Glenn Beck, the end of the video, all of it's covered up and just like billboards of the next video, which I guess they presume you're going to click on. All right, nobody cares about this stuff with me. I get it. All right, here we go. Speaking of which, is this proof the woke left is finally crumbling? That's it. Their days are numbered, because Glenn Beck, who, yes, has been seemingly consuming more and more Sonic lately, and is having what I would call an insulin response, is decided to have on someone that, the only person I've ever heard of that did something so awful to a woman it cost him $32 million to get her to be quiet about it. Who in the world does something so awful that $10 million wouldn't shut them up, but 32 would? Wouldn't you think that if somebody's going to keep their mouth shut for money, like, the number would have been, in theory, lower than that? Or there's no number at all? Yeah, Sonic is an ice cream stop for people in the regionals. He eats this wherever. We see these cups on his desktop all the time. He's always having Sonic. He and Stu. Which I'm just going to go out on a limb. Occasionally have your fast food. Get a little pick up something when you're peckish and you're out. But don't build one of your 3 meals a day or one of your 2 meals a day on that. It's not good. It's bad enough when people have to do it for economic reasons, like I did all during the 80s and the 90s. But it's worse when you absolutely don't have to, and like this dude makes enough money he could have a personal chef. And believe me, if my media once my media, I was watching the Johnny Depp trial today, and he had his butler, the dude who was like his estate manager, I think they called him, who helped them out in England and then went to Australia and witnessed a lot of this shit. Very lovely fellow, British. His favorite phrase seemed to be funnily enough. Funnily enough, that didn't happen. That kind of stuff. Anyways, I was like, I want one of those. That would be great. That'd be really cool to have somebody, to have an estate manager. Wow. And believe me, if I have enough money for 35 screens with my fucking initials on them, you're damn straight I'm going to employ another human being to make sure dinner's ready later. That seems like, especially because I know I'm a lovely boss. As a boss, I'm like the kind of guy who, I'm like a Canadian holding a door open for you. I'm sorry I didn't get it sooner. Yeah, he's a royal butler. Yeah, he worked at Buckingham Palace for 4 years, and then he went into the private butlery. Amazing. I need an Alfred. That's true. Anyways, Is this proof the woke left is crumbling? What do you think? Netflix stock dropping and Disney, is that what we think?
So let's talk about Disney.
Yep, all right, there we go. Disney. Let's talk about Disney, especially considering Glenn Beck every day is looking more and more like a henchman character in 101 Dalmatians.
Oh, love this story. Disney stock, and I sold it when they first started going woke.
When was that? Right after Bambi's mom died.
And I said, this is not going to work. It's 35% down year to year. Okay? 35%. Hit a yearly low yesterday. State of Florida pulled out.
So what you're saying is I should buy the dip? Is that what you're saying?
All their tax credits, which they've had since Walt Disney himself, Beck, negotiated.
Which, if there's a single thing that's going to keep DeSantis from being reelected, it's this.
The deal in Orlando, Florida, with the state to build Disney World. Now, Disney's got to pay all the taxes on that sweetheart deal they had. That's going to cost them tens of millions of dollars. In addition, every traditional family in this country.
Yeah, and also the fact that they're going to have to do that will mean that they can't subsidize airline flights, which means that'll cut down on the number of people going. And then the maggots aren't going to go. I can't wait to go to Disney World because it's not going to be crowded and no Trump supporters. What a great time. If there's ever been a better time to go to Disney World or Disneyland, I don't know what it is.
Hates Disney. Right? Am I right?
No, yeah, you're right.
Because they attacked the family.
No, they didn't.
They said, we want your 5-year-old in school to discuss gender identity. That's what Disney is promoting.
And again, by the way, the Don't Say Gay bill, which was what it was called, DeSantis put that in there knowing full well that anything unconstitutional in it would be struck down, and a lot of it's just fuffery. It doesn't even go up into like past third grade. But their attempt to do this was just to draw attention away to this. And on like social media, people didn't read the depth of the bill. So it became known as the Don't Say Gay bill, like it covers all of school, which it absolutely does not. And so they're using it to troll people. The Disney thing that happened was sort of just it was like collateral damage. Now they're just using it politically.
I mean, this is almost suicidal, is it not?
I think it is, but I want to switch. We're going to have to take a quick break, and I want to switch. So the House yesterday, the Florida House.
By the way, is there ever a day when Glenn's not sick right now?
Approved the bill that had passed the Senate to dissolve all of their special.
Because he's puffy right now. What the fuck is happening?
Exemptions for the state. They used to have the run of their own property, et cetera, et cetera. However, this burden of money is now going to also shift to the taxpayers. And I'm wondering how that's going to play out long term. So we'll get your point of view. That coming up
in the election.
Just a second. Bill, we were talking about Disney. And I know how this deal was put together. I know why it was put together. I know why.
Yes, for most people don't know, for years, Glenn was Chip, or Dale. He was Dale. No, he was Chip. No, he was Chip. He went back and forth between Chip and or Dale because he was the only human being that could do the mascot work without the suit.
Florida made the deal. However, those days are past. Now, he has just said that Disney no longer can have, their own building inspectors and everything else. However, it appears as though this burden now is going to go on to the taxpayer. Mm-hmm. And they're saying the county, what county is it? Osceola?
2 of them.
Yeah.
2 of them.
Orange and Osceola, I believe.
Yeah, and they say that this could increase property taxes by...
You think?
20% beginning next year. That
doesn't have to happen, and I'll explain it in a moment. But
Good.
Give me a minute at the end of this segment because I have something interesting to tell you.
Okay.
I don't believe that.
Okay, so all the counties have to do where Disney World is to pass local taxes. And you can do that in a variety of different ways. For example, you could have a local 2% tax on parking. So people who park.
Yeah, all the counties around Disney and Epcot Center, all they have to do is raise taxes. That's all you got to do.
In any Disney facility.
No, you don't. Sorry. You cannot force people, businesses, to charge for parking. If they own the fucking property, which they do, unless you're going to pass that law on everything, meaning that every mini mall, every fucking doctor's office, every, like, Starbucks, whatever the fuck, every restaurant will have to charge for parking in 2 counties in Florida? Get the fuck out of here.
Which is, you know, in the county, have to pay an extra 2% to the county. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I don't, because you can't do punitive business taxes on singular businesses. You can't go, this business has to pay tax on their parking lots and this one doesn't. And you think everybody in both of those counties is going to be like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, all right.
So you can make that money up easy.
No, you can't. That's fucking dumb.
This isn't about the people are not going to get hammered. This is the left-wing propaganda that always happens.
Yeah. I know that. I mean, there's no way that Ron DeSantis missed this one.
Yeah, it is. Yes, there is.
That's what we're hearing.
All they have to do is fly me down there, and I'll give them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you'll just fly them down there and show them what it takes to have to pay a woman $32 million to hide your sexual assault behavior from the world.
How you can do your local taxes.
Sorry, my mistake. I keep doing this. 34.
More money than you have now, so nobody has to get taxed.
I will tell you, it is going to change the feel of Disney World. You know, when you get off the...
Yes, and if DeSantis has a single legacy, it will be, who's the guy that fucked up Disney World for everybody? Oh, shit. This always does this. Hold on. Clearly, there is something wonky going on here. Hold on.
So let's talk about Disney.
Oh, I love this story.
Love it. Hold on.
Yeah.
Here we go.
That's what we're hearing.
No. All they have to do is fly me down there, and I'll give them how you can do your local taxes to make more money than you have now.
Yeah.
So nobody has to get taxed.
I will tell you, it is going to change the feel of Disney World. You know, when you get off the highway exit for Disney World, it's manicured lawns. The blacktop is black. You know, I mean, the stripes on the road, the medians are...
It looks great, unlike the surrounding area.
Well maintained. That's because Disney has done it.
Right, and we're going to remove all that. Hopefully, if government intervention in private business can show Glenn anything, apparently this is what passes for Republican thought right now.
The state and the county, they're not going to do that. They'll maintain it like they do the rest of the county.
Right, it'll look like shit. Welcome to Florida.
I don't really care.
Thank you, Elspeth.
I know.
Because I'm not going to Disney World. I took my kids there, and I don't blame any American for taking their children there. But right now, if you go to Disney World in Orlando, you better bring a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because a family of 4 spending 3 days there.
By the way, what do you think this is going to make the price go down?
At about $5,000. Okay?
That's incredible.
So they're gouging.
Yes. You're gonna spend about $5,000. You're also gonna spend that for, say, a cruise for 7 days as well.
They're gouging.
It's the same, or 3 days. It's the same shit.
Everyone, and this is what gets.
They're gouging. They created an entire environment gouging. It's not gouging. Don't go. Go see alligator wrestling, you fuck.
They're so woke and they're so noble, and they virtue signal this is Disney all day long. Well, poor people.
Well, no, the parade's only 2 times a day, in the morning and the afternoon. And I guess there's a little bit of virtue signaling in the laser light show. It's that whole, I mean, you could just tell. when Mickey turns into a wizard and all the brooms are moving, so because it's totally communism.
Can't afford to go into your park. Do you not understand that? Could you not maybe sell discounted tickets, in some way to allow working families to come and enjoy it? Do you have to gouge on every single thing you do? Because that
they have their own inspectors. They have their own police force. They have to, otherwise the SWAT team ends up having to be called because that's county regulations and it's special to the environment, and then it fucks up the park for everybody. And then because of DeSantis, we're gonna have our first police raid into the park because somebody's threatening somebody, and because they're not allowed to have their own security force anymore, these guys are gonna have to do it. And then, by the way, that will apply to all private property that businesses have in Florida, and then enjoy the rest of that shit.
The reality of Disney. And we're not...
Also, it's a private business. Don't fucking go. He's bitching about how they act. Then don't go. Don't go. Vote with your fucking feet.
Talking about what they do in China. Do you realize that Disney Shanghai pumps $5 billion into that corporation a year? You know what they pay their workers in Disney?
No.
Shanghai?
By the way, Disney Shanghai is not making $5 billion in profit every fucking year. I've been there. There's 6 rides.
80 cents an hour. Okay? I mean, it's
80 cents US. He does realize there's an exchange.
Every time I turn on, and I very rarely do, The View, and that's...
Yeah, that's... The last time Bill O'Reilly was watching The View.
That's Disney. And I'm going, this is corporation, but the folks have revolted, Beck. That CEO who made this crazy thing in Florida, who attacked the family unit there, he's gone.
Yeah, well, it's not his fault, though, honestly. He wanted to stay out of all of this stuff.
Then he should have.
I agree with you. He handled it poorly internally, and he should be gone. But
by the way, Glenn likes going. Bill O'Reilly's a crotchety old fuck. By the way, I refuse to believe he took his kids to Disneyland I don't buy it. Nonsense. I think somebody took them, or he paid for his wife or girlfriend at the time, or whoever it was, to take them. I don't buy it for a second. This asshole rambled around Disneyland or Disney World for a couple of days with his children at any point. Phooey.
Their entire employee roster, it seems.
Yeah, in Burbank.
Is just nuts.
In Burbank, that's what they let these loons in Hollywood, in L.A.
I feel seen.
Run their corporation?
No, they don't.
And they do.
Yeah.
So you get what you deserve. The Disney brand, once the strongest brand in the United States of America, there was no stronger brand, is now destroyed.
Over a trolling bill in fucking Florida.
Probably forever. But this shows you the power of the people. And we're going to see it in November with the midterm election. All this woke garbage, all of this progressive nonsense. This had to happen. Biden had to happen for the...
we're going into the Mike Lindell idea that this is the Lord's providence.
Backlash, the ferocity of the...
Oh, the ferocity of the backlash. I personally, even I, as a former Disney dad, or I would like to think forever Disney dad, I've turned on the company. I don't know how I can stand it.
Finally... to emerge, and it's going to, Beck.
So
CNN and Disney are just the first two.
So here's the thing about the woke left.
Yes,
they hate Disney and its original values. They hated Walt Disney.
Sure.
Yeah, and we were all rooting for Cruella DeVille, and we were like, why do they always make her the bad person? Even in The Rescuers, why couldn't... All right.
Because it's the traditional family.
Correct. They hated it. So they don't mind.
Did we though?
If they destroy it. If they can use it and pervert it, I
would argue that's what DeSantis is doing. I mean, he could have let that go as well. He can go, respectfully agree to disagree. Disney's a business. They do a lot of business in our. This is about parents here. They don't run classes, and if they want to move that, I can't stop them. But if he'd have just moved on like that, wouldn't be an issue.
Do that. But they're going to be happy either way. Does it?
I don't think they're going to be happy after November. When you see what happens in November,
it's going to be amazing.
I think there's going to be one woke progressive happy, and that's coming up. It's almost 6 months away. And if you think Joe Biden and his new national security advisor, the Easter Bunny, is going to solve inflation in 6 months, I mean, it's not going to happen.
So can I ask you another question?
That's interesting. We'll have to put a pin in that thought.
And this has been bothering me all week.
It's probably your outer colon.
Is about the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, let's get to something that Bill can really help us out on.
Yes.
Now, let's say you were in Ukraine, and you had to pay a woman $34 million to keep quiet.
We went from, oh no, we can't, we got to stop Poland from allowing the Ukrainians to fly away with old MiGs. That would be our involvement, would get us into trouble.
No, it isn't. They wanted to replace them with our F-22s and F-15s.
We just said yesterday, yeah, here's another $1 billion worth of howitzers and...
Yeah, that's not the same fucking thing, dum-dum.
High-tech armaments.
Yeah, they've got these, the dildo drones. They're suicide dildos. By the way, if you're Russian, I'm sorry, you don't need to hear this. It's terrible. But they get you when you're running away. I'm just saying.
And Biden said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to ask the Congress for more.
Right. And you can't tell the difference between us giving away our airplanes to Poland in trade for them giving MiGs to Ukraine and direct aid to Ukraine? Are you just fucking dumb?
Sure.
What is happening? Are we going?
What is happening? I know it doesn't sound like I don't understand what's going on, but I don't understand what's going on. Shit.
War?
It's going to be Build Back Better Ukraine. The United States government senses weakness on Putin. All right, and
no, I'm sorry. According to Trump, it's the other way around. But okay.
Now they're piling on to try to take him out in the sense that if he loses in Ukraine, his power structure in Russia is much less.
The word he wants is diminished. It's a binary. He either stays in or he gets fucked. There's not a diminished version of Putin where he's still running shit at the end of this, whatever the end is.
Right, that's number one.
That's number one.
Dude, the MiG thing is bogus because Poland wanted to fly those planes to a U.S. base and then have the planes go. Biden didn't say, no, Poland, you can't give the Ukrainians MiGs. He didn't want to have our air base used. And I understood that because here's the bottom line on it.
Also, that has nothing. I mean, that was a stage in it, but that's not why. They wanted to replace them with our planes.
Ukrainian pilots cannot stand up to Russian pilots.
Yes, they can. Fuck off.
Been blown out of the sky.
What do we give a shit?
In 3 days. I saw it happen in my own eyes in the Falklands War.
In the Falklands. Get the fuck out of here.
Britain killed every single Argentine pilot.
The fuck does that have to... What does that have to do with anything? What? What? Who pulls... honest to God, I thought I saw it myself. Like I was there in 2014 or some shit, or, Crimea or something, which he wasn't, but at least go there. The Falklands? What? What is that? Oh, shit. That's what happens every time. I gotta restart it again, and then we do this stupid stuff. Hold on. Where are we on this thing?
After November, when you see what happens in November,
hold on.
It's not going to happen.
I asked the Congress for more.
in Russia is much, much less. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the MiG thing is just bogus because Poland wanted to fly those planes to a U.S. base and then have the planes go. Biden didn't say, no, Poland, you can't give the Ukrainians MiGs. He didn't want to have our air base used. And I understood that because here's the bottom line on it. The Ukrainian...
by the way, again, this is marginal, but you can tell Glenn doesn't know any of this stuff at all. And it's not like it hasn't been going on for 55 fucking days.
Pilots cannot stand up to Russian pilots. They would have been blown out of the sky in 3 days. I saw it happen in my own eyes in the Falklands War when Britain killed every single Argentine pilot. Every one in that war. Same thing would have happened if the Ukrainians had gone up in an air war against Russia.
What?
It's the ground war that the Russians are losing, and they are. And that's why NATO and the United States are now flooding the zone with weapons. I don't see a flaw in the strategy. And I'm not, you don't negotiate with a guy like Putin from weakness. And right now, Putin is losing there.
But we wanted a arm's length distance from all of this because Biden said, you know, Putin will, if we get too cozy with Ukraine and we're doing things on the ground, Putin's just going to blame it on us and then we'll be...
Right. Yes. That's true. We can't do a no-fly zone where we're fucking attacking their planes. We can't have soldiers on the ground because that's the predicate. That's what Russia wants. They want a dead American they can hold up and go, see, we're not just fighting Ukrainians, we're fighting these fuckers. It's a world war, off we go, da-da-da. And the fact that we aren't, that stiff arm policy is the very thing that makes this loss sting worse. When the Ukrainians kick Russia's ass by themselves using simply gear we're giving them, then they deserve the win, and Putin has no victory.
Sucked into that
Putin
war.
Can blame it on us no matter what we do. No matter what we do, Putin can blame it on us. Right now, you've got a coalition, NATO and the United States, feeding weaponry into Ukraine so they can defend themselves. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Did you see?
You know, if you
right.
Well, we don't want to provoke Putin. Putin doesn't need provocation.
It's not provocation. It's an excuse. It's the difference between him telling the Russian people, we're getting our ass kicked by the Ukrainians. And he can go, but it's weapons from somewhere else. Yeah, but it's their soldiers. It's their tactics. And what were you expecting? They wouldn't get weapons? We have a ton of shit. We're one of the biggest militaries on Earth. And our guys are getting their ass handed to them by guys who are using loaned rifles.
Say tomorrow, the United States did this to us. They threatened, well, we're going to do this. All right? So, I mean, you're dealing with a guy who just is not a rational guy at this point, and you want to weaken him as much as possible.
Did you see I think it's Foreign Policy came out with a video analysis of Putin grabbing onto the table and his puffy throat. They say...
Yeah, Glenn felt seen.
Best, it looks like he's on steroids for his back, but he has seen a cancer specialist 35 times. He may be going through chemo. Do you believe that?
He looks terrible. I mean, I haven't seen this guy top.
And believe me, if Bill O'Reilly, who allegedly has mirrors in his home, thinks you look terrible
in 6 months, and that's your indication.
Yeah.
By the way, it's glad they end on a laugh. You know what I mean? Start with there's going to be a woke attack or something in the fall, and 6 months inflation's not going to go down. Let's see. Do I have time for this? I do. I think. Well, I got 1 minute. I don't really have time for it. Can I show you guys something? I brought this up earlier. Let's see. It would be. Yeah, it's going to be in here. Look up. Here you go. So, whoops. End of the day, here you go. Look at this little thing. Hold on. So here's the price of oil for today. Let's see. It's turning. get this in here. Here's Market Watch. Let me show you this real quick. Get over here. So this is Market Watch in general. So this is the Dow's up 0.7% today. Like everything's basically up in general. Oil is up. Here's futures are up 238 points. I'm gonna sneeze again. Beg your pardon. Thanks, guys. 0.7%. Nasdaq's up a whole point. People are buying the dip from Friday. Gold's up. Oil's up. Basically, everybody who has money that they would have had in Russia or they would have had in China is looking for somewhere to park it, and they're parking it in our markets, largely. But here's oil. Let's look at oil real quick. Crude oil. There you go. Yeah, here you go. Crude oil WTI. This is $98.56. Let's see what the 5-day is on this. Look at that. Let's see what the 1 month is. Row. Here's its peak from March 30th. It was at 107, and then it was on the 18th it went to 108. It's dropped as low as $94, so it's fluctuating in this zone quite a bit. But right now it's at 98.60, and it's up 6 cents a barrel, which is 6% of that. So 66 cents. Oh, hey, that reminds me. If you'd like to do a 666 super chat, now would be the time. Sorry, I'm just kidding. But there was a story about, because what we've been hearing is it's going to 145, it's going to $185 a barrel. Just get used to the idea, we're fucked. Right? That's what you've been hearing. You've been hearing that everywhere. Now, apparently not, because let's see if I can. I don't know if I can find this quickly enough, but let me give you the basic story of it. Is that the Dallas Fed asked oil producers. They took a poll of them and said, "What's your plans? Are you going to raise production in the next year? Are you going to stay at the same? Do you think you need to? What does it look like?" And they said, we're going to raise production no more than 5%. About a quarter of them said they aren't raising it at all. And then a bunch of them said, at best, 5%. Now, if all of them raise production 5%, that doesn't mean that the output of the United States goes up 5%. Because some of them are low-level output things, and so 5% of 20 is a bigger notch for them, and some have 1,000, and so 5% of that is less significant a jump for them, but is materially more. Whatever. It's the percentage versus real number issue. But all of them, they said, why not? Is it because of government policy? No. Is it because the world oil markets are Russia or Ukraine? No. It's because the bondholders and the investors that buy into the oil markets, who are basically their boss, people who are investing, including giant pension funds and all this kind of stuff, who put money into oil exploration and production, don't think the number's going to stay high. They're all worried that we're going to have another 2008, another 2010, another, in terms of oil prices, another 1978 and another 1981, which is, it gets up to like $145 like it did in 2008, and then $35 a barrel. Because of these vacillations in the market. There's a sweet spot for how much we can actually use. And we're not anywhere near that. We're like 1 million barrels short of the all-time high per day. And I gotta say, like, 5% increase across all these groups, all these different oil producers, big and small, will produce more than $1 million a day, which means we will be at the highest output of oil that we've ever been in. And if this is where oil is right now, it's going to go down. Yeah, it's going to settle at like $60 a barrel, something like that. Tobias says 65, 75. I would say it's a little lower than that even, especially if they overreact. Yeah, well, that's the difference, Foggy. This is the difference between monetary inflation and supply shock. And in this particular case, the lack of availability and the slow march back to full production, which is getting back to where we were pre-pandemic, it's a slow and prodding process. You got to get people back out to the rigs. You got to get things up and running again. You got to hire people. You got to trek it around the place. You got to whatever. There's a lot of work to be done, and it was artificially down because of the worldwide, still is in a lot of places due to COVID, and it's slowly trickling back to where it was normal. And if this is basically the top out number, the reason they're not going to increase production is because they know it's on the way down already. And like I've said, every inflation, and I talked about this morning on the morning show when I was driving, and I go back and look at inflation spikes in the United States and find one that isn't tied somehow to a year before or 2 years before a spike in oil prices. And that's not monetary inflation. That's not inflation in the classic sense. That's supply shock. That's a supply and demand issue. Inflation is the price of oranges has gone up and it's going to fucking stay that way because we've run out of oranges, and the only oranges we're ever going to get are going to be in this just the cost of an orange is just going up. It's going to stay that way. That's inflation. Never again, you could have unless it's deflation. And we don't have, if you're calling it inflation the way people talk about it now, you're talking about a permanent rise in gas prices. That's not how it works. This is more akin to, you had a frost one year, half the orange crop was wiped out, and so orange juice and everything you make from it is more expensive for a year. And then everybody was like, holy shit, you can make so much money in oranges that they grew nothing but fucking oranges. And then there's a glut of oranges on the market and the price of oranges goes in the shitter. That's closer to what this is. And that's not inflation. That's supply shock and market overreaction. It's heightened demand and collapsing supply caused directly by COVID. And all these assholes pretend, look, it's going down while I'm talking. All these assholes talking about this as if it's monetary inflation, because you keep hearing all the time, they're spending money, they're pouring money into the system, there's too much money going into this, they're printing money. This has nothing to do with that. As a matter of fact, there's a lack of worldwide liquidity. The world can't get enough dollars to do what it needs. You can't make bond payments without dollars. You can't do all this shit without dollars worldwide. And people need more dollars to do it. That's why they're talking about paying for stuff in yuan and all that kind of shit. It's because there aren't enough dollars to be had because they're all spoken for. I honestly... And the biggest need we'll get out of petroleum over the next little bit is basically fertilizer. Once we shift to renewables, we're not going to hear about inflation spikes like this ever again. Unless there's some other commodity, like some sort of long life elixir that comes and goes, and we can only get it when an asteroid passes by, and we can milk asteroids for the life extension elixir. But you get America's commuter cars and small T transportation, not trucks and big industry stuff, but commuter cars and trucks and stuff that people drive around town or on family trips. You convert those to electric. You get the American people to drive largely, if not all electric cars. There is no oil-based inflation spike ever again. Because even though we'll still be using oil for other stuff on less and less, you remove that one chunk, that's the fluctuation in the market. That's why, by the way. And if we had just stuck with what Jimmy Carter did, putting solar panels on the White House and trying to move towards more efficient cars and all that stuff without bucking the trend and fighting it, we'd already be there. We wouldn't have had 2008 wouldn't have happened. Even the credit default swaps wouldn't have been enough to crash the market because the price of oil wouldn't have spiked beforehand. And the difference is when oil is the reason for, like, if the price of a television goes up and inflation is, the price of electronics has gone up, the use of that thing is variable person to person. And to some degree, so is oil. Some people use it to drive across town just to visit a friend. Some people need it to commute to work. Some people work as a Lyft driver. Some people are long-haul truckers. And so there's different uses of that. But ultimately, what happens? If you use that TV that you bought just as a regular television, just for entertainment, it's sort of a 0 to 0. You can measure some level of productivity in your life because you can relax and watch TV on a big television. But then you give it to a friend because you got a new one, and he uses it as a computer monitor, right? He takes it and goes, wow, I've got this giant LCD TV that I'm now using as a secondary monitor or whatever. That's continued value from that thing until it stops working. Oil, and thereby gas, when it becomes fuel, no matter who puts it in their tank, it's fucking gone the second they use it, no matter what they use it for. It evaporates. It is setting fire to money. And if we can move the United States and Canada and our allies away from gas-driven commuter cars, because they don't need it. Most people drive the same fucking 35 miles in a circle all the goddamn time. And if you want to rent something with longer range for family trips, like you would rent a camper or something, do that. Who cares? But if you remove those gas cars from that process, and they get better and better because the demand goes up, because look at range in the original electric cars versus what's happening now. We went from 35 miles to 400 plus in a matter of like 3 years. And that's not even with like everybody all in on battery technology. We do that. We don't even need to look at this shit anymore. And again, everybody who talks about like American dominance and the world order and blah, blah, blah. In the reality, we have dealt with 3 primary dominant factors. 4 if you count the abject fear of destruction from Russia. The U.S. financial dominance, in that we have the most trustworthy currency on the whole fucking planet. And the fact that we have a Fed that's responsive to the government, and politics can play a part in that, but everybody wants, the idea is keep inflation low, keep employment high, and because it works against that, is more stable than the Chinese, who can just devalue it or raise the value just by the stroke of a pen, right? So nobody's going to trust any of the other, any money supply from any other country that there'll ever be enough of, including the fucking euro, on the scale of the U.S. dollar. It's just not going to happen. So you can trust it, and that's why people use it. What they call a petrodollar is bullshit. There's no petrodollar any more than there's a fucking Samsung phone dollar. If you use money to buy bonds, and you pay for it in U.S. currency because it's trustworthy, it's not because of what you're buying with it. It's just because the dollar's trustworthy. All right. So this just aggravates the fuck out of me. And because the conversation is so goddamn dull. It's so... Anyways, there's no petrodollar anymore. It's the same as the euro dollar in that regard. Stuff in Europe that is using American dollars, the U.S. dollar, to trade stuff over there because it's more trustworthy and stable than the other currencies. That's it. That's all there is to it. And that's not going to change. So the other hegemonic powers in the world have been the Middle Eastern stranglehold on fuel, partnered with Russia to some degree, so I would tie them into that as well, and China's stranglehold on production for the last 20 years. So these are the people who are leaving the biggest, wettest footprints on the earth in terms of interaction with other countries. And if we reshore as many factories as we possibly can, and make sure that the only place we're putting factories, if we put them in other countries with lower wage workers like Mexico or Indonesia or Vietnam or the Czech Republic or something like that, if we have reasonable relationships with their governments to know that they're not enslaving their people, then it will be this much more expensive in the in the short term, and this much less expensive over the long term, because every possible dime that anybody made doing production in China for the last 20 years is fucking gone, burned up. It wasn't worth it. Not just for the moral reasons, but because of the damage done to both the Chinese environment, in their like super fast need for growth. They just bulldozed, the natural landscape to throw up the shittiest, dirtiest factories on the planet. And so if you made any money having a factory over there, you lost it during COVID. It's gone. So the primary goal has to be that the United States, job one is effectively a smart electrical grid, an improved infrastructure, and electric cars. We get into those, we don't give a goddamn about any of this other stuff, and we help because we can. Hal already showed us how much people in other countries are paying for gas. Oh yeah, we have the cheapest gas in the modern world right now. Still. Look at this. It's oil is going down while I'm talking. Look at this. And it's below 100. The settlement price today was $98.54. That's what they're, if you're buying and selling it today. This is just today. It's been jagging around like this. That's the highest it went today. Today, it's at 8 p.m. It just shoveled off. That's that top point. But it's up, 0.2%. This is not the kind of thing where oil prices are driving inflation. It's supply shock. This jack up mixed with factories being shut down in Shanghai, all that shit. That's what this is. And it drives me crazy that people just they just take it for granted that this is how it works. Ugh, just aggravating. So, I would just like to say that as a reminder to everyone before I sign off. I got to go to rehearsal. Is that what we are experiencing? People are using the word inflation, but they're going to be using the word deflation because there's going to be a glut of material stuff on the market. There are a bunch of ships. Hold on. Let me show you this real quick. Let's see. Ships waiting off Shanghai. This images. Right, there's got to be that chart. It's crazy. News, right? Get out of here. Where's the graph? Yeah, here you go. So this is Rod Zaidan or whatever. This is from Fortune. Hold on one second. Let me show you this. Nobody even fucking pays it. They just assume you're not going to pay attention to this shit because it's too big, and it's like the credit default swap nonsense. The lockdown in Shanghai is not easing right now. Port capacity continues to go down. Inflation will be here for a while. Prices on many tradable goods will take some time to stabilize. He shows this. These are the ships waiting to load or discharge at Shanghai. Look at this. Fwap. This is 2022 so far. Look at this. This is now. Look at what this was. Look at the average 2017 to 2021. Where's this is the minimum of ships that are always waiting. That's regular parked boats, right? It even went down to that point below last year for a little bit, and then the Omicron variant hit, and the Chinese, hold on, I've got to move this up so you guys can see. The Chinese vaccine doesn't work very well, and so they've got nothing to do but lock the place up. Look at this. Look at that. This is just, and this is the pure number of ships, by the way, over the course of the year. Holy hell. They always spike. Okay, and the gray was the range 2017 to 21 was this area right here. 2021 is green, so that was worse compared. And this is the average of these. Look at that shit. You think the things that are on this boat are gonna raise in price because gas in the United States is expensive at $98 a barrel? Are you out of your fucking mind? Who's the Chinese vaccine supplier? They are. They have their own. Look at this shit. Christ almighty. These are just waiting to drop off so they can fill up and go someplace else. And by the way, the Chinese are net importers of food. Let me say that again. The Chinese are net importers of food. They're reliant on imports to feed their populace. The Russians aren't. The Russians produce enough food because of their wheat fields and their farming and that kind of stuff. And they don't have that many people comparatively. So they can, they make enough food to feed their people. The Chinese don't. That's why, as fucked as things are for the Russians right now because of the restrictions that are being put on them, the sanctions, if we did the same thing to China, the country would collapse in 6 months. Millions of people, tens of millions, would starve to death in less than 6 months because they net import their food. And yes, and this shit, look at this spike right here, that is food rotting in a container. Think about that for a second. Holy hell. So the idea that, China's thinking, oh, we'll see what happens in Ukraine to attack, whether we'll attack Taiwan. Are you out of your fucking mind? Russia they're lunatics because they think they can survive this because they produce enough food and fuel for themselves. They just kind of chug along, create their own internalized economy and hold their breath and get through this. And there's an argument because of the people that they have and their willingness to lose a few of them that that they're not even going to starve some people to do it. They'll just round them up and get rid of them. They'll have plenty of food for everybody, though. The Chinese don't. Never have. Never. So if we laid half of the sanctions on China that we've laid on Russia, they would be 10 times as devastating. And I don't know why, that's not discussed more. Because it's not even if you know the inside scoop. It's super obvious. It's embarrassingly obvious. Yes, so Jody's saying, so they're locked up with no food? Yeah, they're locked up with no food. We're a lot more dependent on China. No, we're not. We are so not. We get a lot of stuff from China because we want it, but not because we need it. There's a huge difference. There's, and a lot of people talk about this. Rob Glenn says ocean shipping is totally effed up right now due to, hold on one second. Let's scroll this in here. Due to China and other shutdowns. Totally. That's absolutely the truth. I'm amazed that that's not part of the conversation. It's bad enough people are pretending that COVID didn't happen in their discussions about this stuff. But, like right now it's getting worse. And like whatever the Chinese government's strategy or whatever they're calling their strategy is hot garbage. It's just ridiculously bad. And people are freaking out. I mean, I showed you some of the video of people, but like their lockdowns aren't working at all. Now it's interesting because Shanghai announced they've had 56 COVID deaths. So if that's how many they've admitted to, just add 2 zeros to the end. That's just good practice. China's too busy falling apart to worry about Russia's issues. Yeah, you're not far off. And they are definitely paying a lot of attention to what's happening with Russia. Because look, China currently is financially where Japan was in like 1988, 1989, right before the crash. And governmentally, they're right where the Soviet Union was at the same time. It's, yeah, if not 3 zeros, Eric, yeah. And like I said, you guys know that right up to when COVID started, I was over in China filming a travel show over there. And, Summer sent me, I have to show you this. Let's see where she sent this. Maybe did she send it to my laptop? Or I thought she sent it to my phone. Oh, it's in here, maybe. Let's see. To find it. So when I was in China, maybe it isn't here. Hold on. We were filming at let's see, date added. See if I can find this. Where'd she give it to me? It might be on my other computer. Yeah. So when I was in China, we were filming, I want to say we were in Xi'an. Anyways, we had transport where they had this little bus that would take us to places we were filming. And at one point, the Chinese authorities arrested our driver. They pulled us, he was avoiding something. We're sitting in traffic. Like, he's a hired, like, production driver. There's like 8 of us in this, the camera crew, myself, the producer, the executive producer. Like, we're all in this vehicle, and we're going to a place where we're filming, and the cops ran us off the road, and then he's yelling out the window at them, and they're yelling at him, and then they just snatched the fucking guy. They just took him. And he like was fighting with them in the like they literally. I'll play the video. I know I have it at the house. People remind me on Saturday to play the video when I'm back. But they just basically abducted the fucker right out of the driver's seat. And then this dude in a military uniform got into the driver's seat and just drove us the rest of the way to where we were going. And we didn't know this at the time. We just thought, what are we going with them? Like, they snatched the driver and they're just going to drive us to a camp? And, like, it was fucked up. Like, we were all like, all of us after it happened were like, have you ever seen anything like that? Are we supposed to react? It was shocking. And he was back 2 days later because his brother paid a bribe to the local cop and got him out. Didn't they read him his rights? No. He doesn't have any. Yeah, it was nuts. It was fucked up. Oh God, she sent these to me. I swear they were in. It's before that. Hold on. Maybe it's by days, months, years. These were like. Yeah, so there's our filming crew. I'm gonna have to look for it. It was just fucking wacky. Regardless, it was just, you know, it was shocking in a way that I think a lot of people just, you know, like, it would be life-changing for most of you to be like, it'd be the story you tell all the time. Everywhere you went. And yet, in China, it's an average occurrence. Right? In China, it happens all the fucking time. All the time. Yeah, Rob's right. And the interesting thing is, he's saying, you know, that the lockdowns are terrible, but they, you know, obviously it's very dangerous for them to have to do this, so this is the only option they have. Well, it wouldn't be the only option if they had denied the vaccine from the Western world, if they would refuse to use any of the Western vaccines. They turned them all down. They used their own, and it's not any good. It's not working. It was barely worked against the wild type, and it doesn't work against Omicron. And imagine if Omicron had been as deadly as Delta in the United States. I mean, it's a top-down problem, and and their secondary solution's just shit. It's freaking scary. It's okay, Templeton, you're allowed. Why don't they pirate a Western vaccine? Yeah, well, that's what Russia did with the Sputnik. They ripped off Johnson & Johnson's. And then they fed in false data into the British machines. You hear that shit? So, again, this is huge. This is a big problem. And this is why we're experiencing what we're experiencing. The Fed did not print a bunch of fucking money. That whole narrative is bullshit. It's the only way you can politicize it for, you know, to Republicans to try and blame inflation on Democrats, as if fucking, you know, Biden's rescue package was in some ways, you know, gigantic in an adverse way versus what Trump wrote, which was basically just blank checks to whoever the fuck they wanted. It's the Biden administration who's put in, you know, a group of people to investigate where the PPP loans went, because Trump didn't give a rat's ass, just chucked the money into the system. That was the idea. Even still, there's not too much money in the system. It's garbage. What do you think a bankruptcy is? People can't get access to funds either through a loan or some other backup, or other people don't have money, so they have to give up their property. They have to give up their stuff. Or they have to just walk away from it because there's no liquidity there to deal with the problem. If bankruptcies spike and people are seizing property all over the place, it's because there's a lack of liquidity in the market. If we were flush with cash and there was just money being fucking thrown everywhere, then that wouldn't be a problem. Worldwide, especially. God. Anyways. Robin says in her super chat, I wonder how many North Koreans are dying and abandoned. Honestly, thank you, Janine. Yes, rehearsals, I gotta go. They don't care, and we can't even know. It's bad enough we don't know what the Chinese numbers are. I mean, the lies about the North Korean numbers are even worse. But that said, keep that in mind when people tell you that our system and our circumstance right now is fucked or terrible. It's silly. It's embarrassing. It's wrong. And to some degree, like, how dare you? Right? I honestly don't understand how, hold let's see the alert boxes. Okay. How people can't like spot the difference on that, like how they can't. They think there's some sort of basic teeter-totter like balance in this. It's really odd. I mean, other than the fact, have a good rehearsal. I will. Okay, I'm gonna leave. All right, I'll see you guys later. I gotta go do some singing, and then I got to sing tomorrow, and that's just how it'll work. I adore you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the show. I hope I don't get too wonky sometimes, but this matters. It matters. I just, you have to. All right. See you later.